Welcome to Spiritual as Fuck,
Virtual as fuck.
a podcast where we explore everything outside of the ordinary. I'm Liz Volpe. I'm a social entrepreneur, now psychic medium, teacher and mentor with a huge passion to inspire people to dream big and change the world.
I'm Diane Driscoll, a coach, facilitator and speaker. I'm also a psychic intuitive, learning to incorporate my spiritual gifts into my life and business.
We're here today to share real and raw spiritual stories. It's going to give you a safe space to challenge what's normal and have some serious fun along the way.
We hope you're ready to get spiritual as fuck.
Welcome back, everybody, to Spiritual as Fuck, the best podcast in the world, I believe. Diane, what do you think?
I'm with you. A
little bit biased. Today, we are going to go to a place where spirituality meets the real world. And we are going to delve into our personal experiences, potentially some experiences that you might resonate, and talk about this place in the middle where we try to bring spirituality into our normal life. Now, I'm sure that many of us are from all different walks of life. We all have a range of different careers, jobs, businesses, and life looks different for each of us. Some of us have children, some of us are married, some of us, I don't know, might be sat on the top of Everest right now. Who knows? But the thing that I guess Diane and I have learned through spending a lot of time together through our own personal spiritual journeys is sometimes it's extremely hard to bring through and stay plugged in spiritually because things happen, life happens. And we really want to get to the bottom of exploring that point where we can bring in spirituality into our real world to actually have a difference, make a difference long term. Because let's face it, the disconnection part is the easiest and the quickest to happen. So the minute a change comes in, something happens, an obstacle, anything that kind of throws your routine, then spirituality is one of the first things to go. Would you agree, Diane? You're nodding. So
I'm nodding my head furiously here. Definitely. It's like having just moved to Ireland for 6 months. It's like I thought that my spiritual practices were going to be through the roof, because I have beautiful trees, lovely green grass and, farmland around me. And I thought, I'm going to be so connected with nature. There's so many things I'm going to go out and do. And it hasn't. Let's just say it's taken me a while to get my practices back in flow. And, sometimes I think it becomes a little bit too hard and we know what we need to do. I don't know whether you find this, but I know what I need to do. I know what is good for me. It's almost like, okay, when if you get up for breakfast in the morning, are you going to have something good and something wholesome and something nutritious? Or are you going to feed yourself with something that's not so good? We all know we're not silly. We've been educated. We know what we should do or what is good for us. But that's not always the thing that we do. And when our energy levels are a little bit low because we're, going through a change in our life or there's something stressful going on, that's usually the time that we put our practices into the too hard basket, or at least that's what I was doing.
It's hard, isn't it? Because in terms of the priorities, living a human life, like you have this whole list of priorities, and let's face it, the majority of us put ourselves at the very bottom of that list. With everything else before us, which is just crazy. But like you said, we know that if we can stay connected spiritually, then we are in flow. Our intuition happens. We get told the signpost, the guidepost, where to go. And the minute that you disconnect and unplug yourself, then that is when the ego takes over, the fear comes in, and honestly, the attitude changes. I know for me, like when external things are happening, my attitude can go from positive to negative extremely fast. And the minute that I'm catching myself in that place, it's a knock-on effect to everyone and everything around me. Everything becomes harder. And I start to really feel like a lack of fulfillment. I start to feel stale and stuck and frustrated. And to me,
And
that's like my arch enemy feeling.
yeah, and
Frustration.
I do feel too, because I definitely experienced this as well, that my inner compass, my intuition, my inner voice, like all of those, it's not as loud, or it's not as clear, it's not as, I'm not as in tune with this with it as I had been previously. And that was actually quite scary for me. And I have to say, even though on one hand it was scary, on the other hand it's like, and what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
It's like, when I was in Australia, I wasn't even watching TV or anything. Like, I've been watching Gaia, and my Gaia wouldn't work over here. So I started watching, because my house is, when I'm not here, is rented out as an Airbnb. And I have this, all the channels, all the things I can watch, all the on demand stuff. So I started watching episodes of Suits, and all of a sudden, because you've put yourself into something, oh, there's another episode and there's another one. So instead of going off and doing something, I found myself falling into that old habit, old trap, especially if I was tired. And because I'm tired quite a bit at the moment with working multiple time zones, I just found, wait a minute. And it's like, I would catch myself, I would consciously catch myself, and I'd still go ahead and do it. So it's when you can observe yourself doing things like that, and then it's a case of, okay, I have a conscious choice to make in this moment in time. It's like, am I going to turn on the Netflix, or, if it's evening time, you're going to grab the glass of wine, or you're just going to sit with your feet up or whatever. Or am I going to do something that is going to raise the level of my vibration, a spiritual practice? Am I going to ground myself? Am I going to do some breath work? What am I going to do? But in that moment, just knowing what your practices are. And I know for me that being in a different place with a different energy, you mentioned about being around people, like I'm around my family at the moment, and as great as all of that is, it's still another element of not having a routine, and not, to everybody else, I'm on holiday, and I'm like, I'm not on holiday, I'm working. But it is, and again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing or a stressful situation. It's very energetic related. It's like
Mm.
managing your own energy and be able to put boundaries around your own energy, to say, okay, here's how much I'm giving. I'm noticing that my energy level is dropping, or my vibration is dropping, or I'm feeling down or sensitive or a little bit triggered about things. And if you observe those things, it's like, okay, if you notice it, what are you going to do about it? And do you have some of those practices to hand?
Hmm. So I want to dive into, I guess, life's challenges, because we all go through different challenges, and there's big, huge, life-changing things that happen, and then there's the daily stuff that kind of gets in the way and distracts us. You
Life.
mentioned something, life, yeah. You mentioned something that is just, the key to this conversation, that is energy. And when you are going through, something health-wise, or you're going through a separation, or you're going through, something that's extremely challenging, how do you, I guess, manage that energy? Because obviously when your energy is knocked and you lose the frequency, okay, so that your vibration, your frequency,
Yeah.
your mood drops. When you're in that space, we already know that our mind is geared towards negativity naturally. So where our energy is low, our mind is then kicking off spiraling negative thoughts. You're not good enough. I can't do this. This is the worst situation. I can't afford it. And then the fear of finance, and, everything piles on. And it's like, before you know it, you are in that deep point of despair. And it's too hard to change. Like, that's how you feel, right? You feel like this
Yeah.
is hard now. What advice would you have for people that know that Liz and Diana on the podcast are saying you should raise your vibration? That'll solve everything. And you're like,
What are you?
F off. It's not that easy.
But it's funny. It's not that easy, and it is.
Yeah.
we like when we're, and I'll tie this both to spirituality and to mental health. It's like when we're not in a good place, we literally have no energy or no inspiration to do anything. Like I found this for years when I had anxiety and depression. It was like the lower I would get, the more it would take to give me that kind of injection of energy to be able to do something
Hmm.
about it. So much of it is about actually watching yourself go down that slippery slope, because for a lot of these things, it's not just something that hits bang. It's, you've now dropped to a lower frequency, or you've hit an all-time low where you've spiraled really quickly. These things happen over time, that we're saying, continually spiraling downwards. And like me, it's like, okay, I know I should probably do some breath work, but I'm going to stick on an episode of Suits. Like, seriously, that's the time. And there's no point in, and just catching yourself with those things, that it is that conscious decision that you're going to do something about it is one part. But the other side is, and I do a lot of work with mental health in corporate organizations. And one of the things I tell people to do is have their emergency mood shifters. So think in advance, if your mental health is going to go into decline, what are the things that bring you almost like instant joy? Now, for me, yes, listening to heavy metal, dancing around my kitchen, getting out in nature, those are the things. They're free, they're easy, just go and do it. Even a hot shower, just go in and imagine washing away all the negativity, all of the energetics of other people. But just thinking to yourself, what are 5 things? Literally just pick 5 slightly different things. So, and for me, I would look at it as having something that is, something breath work related. So whether it is a breathing exercise that you can do that is, fairly straightforward, even if it is just as simple as box breathing, do something that is breathwork related, something that is grounding, something that is going to bring you back to, if you're off the fairies, as I call it, if I've got too many things that are going on in my head, or I'm feeling like I'm off in other realms, that I'm just, or energetics, or we spoke offline about the aurora energy, and that was happening in both the northern and southern hemispheres,
Holy
and it was
schmoly.
off the charts.
I
So
was knocked off my chair last week,
yeah,
and it's still
yeah.
not back to normal.
Here's a good example then. What did you do as you were going through that? Because that's a real life challenge that hits you. And a lot of people, I'd say a lot of people who are listening. So if you're listening to this and just reflect back on, when the auroras, or whether it's the northern lights or the southern lights were on, there was lots of things on social media talking about the energetics of that. And some
Hmm.
people may have, consciously noticed it. Other people may not have. But just tune into yourself to think, okay, did I notice something happening? I definitely did as well. But I know my sister, who I have some chit chats with, she feels energy, that sort of energy, really, really strongly. And you do too, Liz, as
Oh,
well. Like, you're
wow.
more than I
Honestly,
am.
I have to say, I rarely say this, but last week was a horrible week for me. I was feeling it so strong. Again, the way that I was feeling it was just a horrible low feeling from my heart area. So, kind of like when you're feeling depressed, your energy was so low, but it wasn't low all the time. It was up and down, up and down. So I'd be waking up to try and live my normal life and go to work, and I'd sit at my desk and I'd be like, ugh. And I would be feeling completely stuck, zero clarity, headache. Honestly, the 99% of it was just energetic, like me just not feeling good. And I'm not going to go into the science behind it, but obviously it's caused by solar flares. I
Yeah.
read something very interesting that last year there were 12 very large solar flares, okay, through the year.
Okay.
Last week alone, 19.
Yeah. Yeah.
19. So I was like, that made me feel a bit better, thank God. And I know that, a lot of my students on my current intuitive hit course, they were all the same. Like everyone for the week, we were taught,
Yeah.
we were doing a week on trusting your intuition. And we were like, I actually said to them, listen, fuck what I'm talking about this week, because it's really hard to trust.
Too much
Because
interference.
yeah, even my connection, my intuitive connection was blocked last week. And I woke up on Friday morning and all of a sudden it was like a backlog of psychic information that flooded in within
Oh,
seconds. Like someone had literally opened the lid
yeah.
or taken the lid off. And it felt so good. I'm like, oh, the gift's still there. Thank God.
It
The
hasn't gone
feeling
away.
that, the lightness has come back. And again, again, another good example of external things coming in. I can't help a bloody solar flare, but
Yeah.
I do have the awareness to explore. If I'm not feeling energetically good, I'm not going to go into like overthinking here, but is there a reason, firstly, and what can I do? And I did, when I felt my energy shift and come down, instantly I was outside, I was charging my water. I received the information in meditation to charge my water and infuse it with love. So I was drinking, love infused water every
Yes.
day. I have stuck affirmations on my bathroom mirrors for me and my kids. So we're practicing gratitude in the mornings. Anything, any tools that I know that can work, I've pulled them all in for that week. And we're
Yeah.
still continuing. When we don't need them, we might put them to one side. But it's a case of knowing where you are energetically at, feeling in and being honest, and honestly stopping excuses. I found that
Yes.
the amount of excuses that we tell ourselves, that I tell myself, of why I can't make things happen, on why I can't get out of the rut, on why I can't meditate for the day, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Our excuses will always stop us from reaching a point of feeling fulfillment, from connecting with our soul. Because really, that is the point where spirituality meets the real world, is the point that you connect with your soul. And we
Yes.
all walk through life only being connected to about 10% of our soul. So if we can find a way to plug in with whatever's happening externally, we will be able to get to the point of happiness where our vibration is high to attract, law of attract, manifest, and bring all the
Yes.
good stuff in.
It's funny these days, just on about the law of attraction and manifesting, and that I know that so my experience through, and I won't just put it down to solar flares. I think there was other stuff going on energetically for me as well. And again, tiredness for me, I think, was a big one, just working different time zones and that. But I really, this sense of being so tired. Yeah, like, I mean, it wasn't like depression or anything like that, but I started to notice that, okay, all the things that I did to manifest, like I'm here in Ireland. Oh my freaking
Did
God.
it?
It's like I should be on top of the world, and I am for the most part. But I was having these ruts where it was like, all of a sudden, because all these obstacles kept coming in, like just a lot of paperwork and admin and just getting settled here. And all of these things started to come in more and more and more. I could feel myself again, that like my energy level, my vibration was just getting lower and lower and lower and lower. And then I started to doubt the future that I'm now creating for myself, or that I'm manifesting. And I'm like, oh, that's dangerous. Like, I literally had the moment of
Mhm.
thinking, okay, because, where we spend our time focusing, that's what we're creating. So if I'm thinking about all of so to give you the real world example, it was like, our dog had just arrived from Australia. So woohoo, yes, she's arrived. She's happy. She's happy as Larry. She's prancing around the place. And literally, she's only just off the plane, and I have to start the paperwork to get her back to Australia.
Oh,
And it's
God,
like,
that's really
so
impressive.
I know, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh no. And my mind just went into, it was almost like I fast forwarded myself, that it was now October, and that, I was getting on the plane and I was saying goodbye to family. It
Well,
was
this
like
is horrible. No wonder.
I almost threw my hands in the air and gave the whole thing up. And I'm like, what the hell? Just, again, the self-awareness, the power of observing yourself, being able to catch yourself when you go into those spirals and say, okay, if I continue with this line of thinking, then that's what I'm going to attract to myself, and I'm going to create that reality. Whereas I know now the amount of manifestation that I did, like, and it's not just about, the house in Ireland, or the car, or the, bringing my family over here. It's not just any one of those things. It's like literally all of the things that have happened in the
Mm.
last year have just been through the roof. All, but I could feel all of those. I saw them. I had great visualization about them, and I had no doubt in my mind that any of them were going to come to pass. And now I'm seeing all of that doubt creeping in. So I could feel myself in the last, week, but probably 2 weeks. And again, I don't know the solar flares, but it was like that, the energetics of doubt, just doubting myself. And then if you spend time in that, then you know that that's what you're going to be attracting to you. So no matter how many affirmations we say, no matter how many little things are stuck on our, on our notice boards or reminders on the fridge of things that we want to do, if the core essence of what we're doing is either worrying or thinking about something negatively or catastrophizing, those are the thing. It's still like at the end of the day, it's energy that attracts energy. It's not actually your thought processes that's going to attract, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've spoken about manifestation, law of attraction a little bit in the past, but I mean, it's so true. And I'm always really aware of that as well, that I know through working with energy now that if I'm putting one message out to the universe of something that I really want to attract, and then I have more than one or two off days where my mind then is confusing the universe and going,
Yes.
oh, well, I'm not actually sure about that now. Maybe I should do this instead because I'm taking the easy route, because the doubt, the fear, the unconfidence is coming in. Then the universe is like, okay, what exactly does she want? And instead, I'm going to be probably brought something that's nowhere near as good as what I first wanted. So I'm aware of that too. And if the doubt comes up, I'm like, no, okay. I acknowledge the doubt. I
Yes.
almost see myself taking the doubt out, putting it onto a cloud and allowing the cloud to float past. And going, okay, you can just sail away. I see you're there. That's okay, because you're a human.
Absolutely. The human experience with everything. And I feel like both of us, Liz, have really applied ourselves to spiritual practices. Like, we may slip off the wagon from time to time, or for me, probably more so that I need things to be shaken up. Like I need to have a variety. So I'll do one practice, or a couple of practices for a while, and then I'll start doing something else. But I think for anyone who is, you know, maybe not as entrenched in some of their spiritual practices. So maybe you're a mum, and I'm actually thinking of my sister who has 4 young kids. She's recently gone back to college as well, and I'm thinking, oh my god, I could barely
Oh,
cope with
wow.
one child. How it's so hard to then incorporate a spiritual practice. There's barely time for anything. There's barely time to go to the bathroom, never mind anything else. Or if you're in a high pressure, say, corporate job, or you're running your own practice and you're running your own business, because we all know when things like that happen, you're generally not just 9 to 5. There's lots of other things going on as well. So it is, no matter that spirituality that meets the real world, like the real world is, we've all got responsibilities. We've all got someone who needs something from us, whether that's a toddler looking for a snack, or a boss who's demanding a report, or a husband who, needs support with something. It's like there's always someone around us who needs something from us. And that finding a way of honoring ourselves, knowing what are the things that are really going to make a difference. And, if, as an example, if meditation is not your thing, then try journaling. If journaling is not your thing, just keep trying different things, but really find something that is your go-to thing that is going to, and it doesn't necessarily, like for me, listen to heavy metal, that's, who would think that's a spiritual practice? But it is the thing that lifts my vibration instantly. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to do 20 minutes of a breathwork session, or I'm going to do a deep transcendental meditation. It doesn't have to be those things, or an hour of yoga. It just finding something, because if you lift your energetic state, then from there you will be able to do something else. But just do something that shifts you quickly, and then you can do the other practices afterwards if you have capacity to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are so many things that you can slot in. And again, we do all live incredibly busy, distracted lives, as we've spoken about before. We are in the information era, as I've mentioned. And to get into the intuition era, it is around connecting. And I think that for me, going through a spiritual awakening and being in, a director of social enterprise, to me, when that first happened and I wanted to bring in spirituality into my life, it didn't feel right in a weird way. There was like, but how? How do I live a spiritual life but continue in this masculine hustle, go-getter type way? And obviously I've found now ways that work, but I can imagine whether it is a busy mum or someone working, at one of the big banks, or walking into the courtroom, or walking onto the building site, whatever that looks like, sometimes there'll be an element of, yeah, but I can't do that because, I'm going onto the building site. And number one, fitting in practice that works in that environment is something that they need to consider. But also, I still feel like there's this whole conversation around shame on admitting that you're spiritual and you have spiritual beliefs. And I
Yes.
really think, that is one of our missions, bringing spirituality into the real world, is by showing that, you know what, if you're going through a spiritual awakening or you're spiritually curious, you don't need to quit what you're doing and run away and go to become a monk in Tibet. You don't
Yes.
have to quit and become a breathwork practitioner. Just because you've realized that you're psychic, you don't have to quit and become a psychic and do readings every day. And that's kind of something what I've discovered over my journey is, now, do you know what? The world is so ready to know how to just bring in your gifts to use in
Yes.
your way. On the building site, intuitively knowing what to do, how to build, where to place things, intuitively knowing how to lead and run a team, intuitively knowing how to argue to win a case in the courtroom. We all
Yes.
do it. It's just that we've never been told that that's what it is.
Definitely.
So we
And I think
rant over.
we have I guess, the beauty of hindsight as well, because I would not have known, like being a corporate leader, I would never have known that a lot of the things that I was doing were actually very spiritual or psychic in nature. And it's only now with the value of hindsight that I'm realizing, oh, I was reading the energy in the room. Oh, I could understand the dynamics of energy that was happening in that situation. Or, oh, I really was being led with my intuition, or that was clairsentience. I had that real sense of, that feeling in the body, like a visceral feeling. So there's, for whoever you are, if you're feeling that sense of whether it is, and shame might be a very strong word for it, but if you're feeling that sense of unease about bringing your spirituality into the workplace, it's like, it doesn't have to be something that you go around the office or the building site with a big drum and you're banging and say, okay,
With a
I'm
sage stick.
spiritual as fuck, everybody.
Look at me.
Newsflash. Exactly. What it is, what you can start to do is simply observe some of the things that you do. When do you get those kind of intuitive hits when you're in the office? Maybe you're working in retail and you see someone walking through, walking into the store, and you're thinking, wow, I bet you she's looking for an outfit for a wedding. It could be something as simple as that you're suddenly, but have fun with it, play with it. Why? Because how awesome a retail assistant are you going to be if I know that's the kind of person I'd like to walk in and they actually know what I want, they're going to be helpful, and they can already, clairvoyantly see what I'm going to look like on the day. But if we all used our gifts in those ways, or if you're, corporate leader, you're about to make a big key decision on something, and yes, we're programmed to have all the facts and figures and data, but the majority of people will still have an element of gut instinct or intuition in there as well. But starting to lean into that a little bit more and observing yourself when these intuitive hits are coming, when you're trusting yourself with those, and just even set the challenge for yourself for the next week, for the next month, and just say, you know what, I'm going to lean into this a little bit more. I don't have to shout it from the rooftops. I don't have to tell anybody about this, but I'm going to have fun with this, and I'm going to experiment a little, and I'm going to see what it's going to be like to just allow my spirituality, my gifts to come to the fore a little bit more. I just think you're so right that people need to be incorporating this into, and again, you don't even have, if you're at home making breakfast for the kids, as an example, Liz was talking about, infusing love, and we all do that as, mother. Well, actually, I was about to say we all do that as mothers, but at the end of the day, I've often been found muttering over making dinner as well.
Yeah,
So that's probably not infusing love. But still, it's like, have fun with some of these things. See if you can kind of, guess what the kids are going to come up with. Guess what kind of homework they're going to come home with today. Guess, just do some of those things. Have fun with it. But how can you incorporate more spirituality, more of your gifts into your everyday life, no matter what, you know, way your life looks like today?
You're actually making me laugh because I've not thought about this experience for like seriously 20 odd years. But after school, I got a job working on telesales for a really large car company in England. And I'd never necessarily done anything like it before. I was absolutely amazing at this job, right? And
Ooh,
you've just literally made me remember I could jump on the phone to anyone and automatically be able to read how they're feeling about the opportunity I was selling, right? I was a salesperson. And even everything that I've done in the area of sales, like I have been so good at getting people to say yes because underneath the words, behind what they're looking like, behind their body language, I would just have a feeling and I would know what to say. And
yes.
yeah, just it came back to me all of these little like, how have you already booked that many appointments? Oh my God. Like setting record after record. And I'm thinking, this is the easiest
Yeah.
job in the world. Commission? Great. Bring it on. You know, I was designed for this type of work. But you're right, and I love that because I would like to kind of give people the advice of, yeah, if you follow Diane's advice and lean into whatever those gifts are, and you start to pull it into the workplace and try things, then what you can do is ensure that you are plugged in correctly for the days that you really need the gifts. If you've got the big meeting where you have to pitch your idea to the board, you know, that morning, you'd want to be doing your meditation. You'd want to be getting outside to ground. You'd want to be charging and supercharging your energy. So you can take then all of these practical applications and then again measure, did this impact me today? Did I get more of a positive outcome? Did I find it easier? Did I feel energetically in the flow? And if you keep a journal on this type of stuff, you will see that this works. You will see that you stop spirals happening. You will feel better and you will have more success. I guess the only other thing that we haven't spoken about here, Diane, is this form of accountability.
Okay.
Because I know, you know, I've done spiritual courses in the past, I've had mentors, I've had programs. And the minute that I switch that off, that does disconnect me. Now, we're
Yes.
really lucky because we have these beautiful times and dates in our calendars where we're forced to podcast together.
Yeah.
And I
Forced. It's
don't
terrible, folks.
forced, absolutely forced, handcuffed and everything. Now, luckily, you know, I feel really lucky and blessed
Mm,
that we're even doing a spiritual podcast because it forces it to stay forefront. It keeps
yes.
me connected. Whereas, you know, when I go on holiday, when external things happen and the disconnection happens so quickly and unexpectedly, that then sometimes you have to do it all again. You have to kind of get back in a way, or there's that feeling at least that, oh no, how am I going to get
Abs-
connected again?
Absolutely, because that was one of the things that definitely impacted me because our overlapping times between you and I, Liz, you know, it's not as easy to pick the phone up in the middle and say, you'll never guess what happened. It's like, oh no, Liz is sleeping. I can't ring her now. But it is having a way of, and even for me, a long-term, like group coaching program that I was on and have been on for a number of years now, because it was going to be happening Sunday nights, right? Like in Australia, it was Monday morning, and Sunday nights are sacred for me for family. It's probably the only day of the week that my whole family are off, or we can have any sort of get together. So I gave that up, and that is one of the things. Like I wouldn't have thought to mention it, but I know with myself that is one of the things that impacted me significantly as well. Because if I'm not plugged into that, and that's plugged into practices, it's plugged into people, it's plugged into even just my mindset going in as I would
Mm.
dial into that session. It's like, okay, this is time for me. I'm investing in me. I am, you know, and I yeah, just opening myself up to the energy of that forum and to the people that I'm working with in that session. So it is, yeah, just
Well, it
doing
actually, you know, not only does it kind of keep you plugged in, but it also sends a very powerful, energetic message out to the universe as well, because you can talk about being spiritual all you like, and, you know, you might do the odd thing, but unless you have a sense of commitment to practice and to ritual and to connecting with your soul, then really, will anything come back in terms of law of attraction? Will anything come back in terms of manifestation? Because you're not really showing you're serious. And for me, that's what it's about when we're talking about energy. It's that when you have a decision to make, let's say you really want to meet a partner. Okay, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are like, I really want to find my soulmate, as an example. And you're not doing anything about it, but you're talking a lot about it. You'll be telling your friends, like, I really want to meet someone, but there's no inspired action happening to do it.
Yes.
Then really, you're sending a very tiny vibration out to attract. Whereas if you're someone that is going, okay, I want to attract a partner, I'm going to go online now, I'm going to build myself a profile, I'm going to send that vibration out, I'm going to tell my friends I'm going to send that vibration out, and I'm going to block off 2 times in my calendar a week that I can have for potential dates moving forward. Then the vibration, the energy is amplified. Then it's like you're speaking through a speaker going, I'm ready, bring me the guy, you know?
Come to me.
The universe is like, oh shit, this girl's serious. We got to find someone, line them up. Yeah? But if you're just sat at home in your pajamas, talking on your phone for 3 years about finding someone, but taking zero action, so that's, that's my explanation of it.
It's so true. If you're not going to take the action, or you're talking about, or you're taking the action, but again, you're in that negative mind space. Oh God, I'm never going to meet somebody.
Probably won't happen.
Or the last 5 people have been atrocious, or this has happened, or I heard such and such happened during the week to someone else, a friend of mine, or it's like spiraling. It's just be as open to the highest and greatest possibilities and put it out there. But yes, the action. If you don't take action, and sometimes, and maybe this is just me with my coaching clients and that as well, sometimes you do need a cheerleader. You need someone who's going to kind of, if you do kind of dip down below the surface of, feeling sorry for yourself, or, not in the best energetic state, having someone around you that are your kind of cheerleaders, your people who are going to build you back up again. Because maybe one of your things to get your energy level raised again is, okay, if you call your version of Liz. It's like, who's the Liz in your life that you need to call? Or who is the person that instantly when you chat to them, that there's going to be that elevation of energy straight away. And those sorts of things, that once you have that little spike in energy, then instantly what's an action that you can take? Do something with when you have that energy in that state, rather than trying to do something of, oh, I'm just going to go out now. I'm sorry, I don't even know any of the dating apps, but Tinder's the one that I don't even know whether Tinder is a true dating app, or whether it's just, for getting out there physically, shall we say. But it's like, are you going to do it? Am I just going to go through the motions of putting myself out in a profile and not believing in any of it, or not actually taking part in it? It's like,
are you booking that hairdresser appointment and looking glam?
Fabulous and feeling fabulous. Exactly.
Yeah, bringing the energy up on feeling, because that's what it is, right? It's you manifest through feeling, and you've got to allow your feelings to match your intentions. So what you want to happen, you've got to really feel it. So if you're not feeling it right now, go and do something to feel it. Yes. But having a buddy, I think, is just key. It's someone that you can actually pick up the phone and go, oh my God, I got signed today. Maybe some of the guys walking onto the building site don't feel comfortable saying to their co, I just had a sign, a bird flew on the brick and whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think if you are feeling disconnected and feeling lonely on your spiritual journey, and you don't know where to go, come to us, definitely. Join us on even Instagram, and we get so many people sending us DMs of stories, and it's just so beautiful to hear. And we are building a community with Spiritual Spot. We're building a community because, for God's sake, when we went through an awakening, we didn't have a community. Yes. And that made it harder, faster, and slower and more painful, I think.
Yeah. And it's that sense of feeling you're going crazy, you're not knowing what to do, and you're hearing these terms of things, but the more of a kind of, whether it's, yeah, it starts out as a spiritual body, but then maybe a spiritual community or a network, or you've got people around you, and you're starting to build that sense of who are, the five people I have around me, or, you're the sum of the five closest people, or the people you spend most time with. It's just knowing, who are the people I'm spending my time with? Where am I getting my information from? Who am I getting some new ideas from? So whether it's new practices, new ways of viewing things, new ways of, okay, if I've been trying to manifest like this and it's not working, then who's going to give me a different perspective that I can say, okay, that's what works for you? Because we all need to run these things through our own inner discernment and just see, well,
Mm.
oh, does that make sense for me? Because there's definitely, if there's one thing that we both know, is like, things that work for you don't necessarily work for me. Everybody needs, we're all on our own unique journey. We're all on our own unique path, but there's nothing as sure as having inputs from other people who have been on the path, who have kind of tried and tested things. That's what helps you out. It's like, okay, I can do this kind of energy clearing. Oh, I can do this cord cutting, from a relationship. Just things that, like, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have known any of this stuff. So, I didn't make the stuff up myself. I learned from someone else. I heard from someone else. I followed someone. And Instagram for me was definitely one of my best buddies. And I think that's why both of us resonate so much with Instagram as well, and where we send out our information to the masses.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because when I first delved into spirituality, this time round anyway,
Mm.
there was almost so much information out there, and that was very overwhelming for me. There's like 7 million teachers doing psychic development. There's like loads of people with different opinions. There's all of these healers, these Reiki masters. And when you are at the start of or through the spiritual journey, and you get a sense, you got a feeling inside, oh, I'm feeling like I should go and learn healing. There are so many people out there, and what I don't like about the spiritual industry, to be honest, is there are a lot of scammers, and there are a lot of people that are fakes, that you try and follow a nice psychic online, and then you start getting messages to get, send your card
Yes.
details through Instagram. So it is a place that you do have to tread carefully. And I know for us through the podcast, it's been a process of knowing where to look for these incredible experts, for true, authentic leaders, for the teachers that have my best interests as a student at mind. And, even when it comes to our guests through the podcast, we are very careful who we invite on. And we invite on the true, incredible, inspiring, world-changing guests that are
Yeah.
good at what they do, and they
Yeah.
walk the talk.
I think that's so important, Liz, because, people listening are not going to know what happens behind the scenes, but the number of people that we have reaching out for us to be, oh, can we be a guest on the show? And Liz and I are extremely discerning. It's like, we spend a lot of time energetically feeling into, like, yes, reaching out to the people we want to have on the show. But if we're approached by someone, it is making sure that, okay, how do we feel energetically about this? Is it something that we think will benefit our listeners? Is it something that it is that there's like a filtering process that we go through, because we want to make sure that we're bringing the best possible guests. And even on the channel, like when we have our channel sessions as well, that, you can have all the knowledge and, personal practice in the world. But if you can't teach someone else, and particularly on the channel, when we have our workshops, so we bring people in to, to kind of showcase, whether it's astrology, whether it's human design, things like that, we want to make sure that people are able to educate and impart their knowledge, and do it in a really inspiring and insightful way, and a way that is going to get people to take that inspired action. Not that they're just going to say, oh, that was a great session.
All of our guests, the big spirituals folk tick of approval, let me tell you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I think, the guests, I mean, we obviously just had Ali McKelvey, one of our previous guests, running a human design workshop, which was just absolutely amazing. All of the workshops that we run, we feel, even, I guess, the authenticity, the education from that incredible leader, but we walk away with practical tools that we can
Yes.
bring into our life, so we can go about living, and going through our career and being a mum with these tools in our tool belt that we can pull up to ensure that we keep connected. On that note, I feel like we should probably just share our news. What do you think, Diane?
Go for it.
You know, Diane and I spend hours and hours in meditation, but every so often during one of our chats, we do feel into ideas. And something that we've shared throughout this podcast even is not really having that place to go to keep plugged in. So we thought, well, why don't we provide that for you? So from the 19th of June, we are launching a brand new, exclusive, exciting event. It's called a Supercharge session, and we'll be holding them bi-monthly through the year. And this is going to be 30 minutes, so just this super short, supercharging session for you to plug in and connect. So through this session, we will be giving you a small dose of a practical activity that you can now use to keep your soul connected, to stay in alignment, to boost and elevate your energy, to feel better. So you can law of attract, so you can manifest. And Diane and I will hopefully be able to act as that point of reference where when you join in for that 30 minutes, you feel yourself energetically connect, and you will feel yourself walking away afterwards with an expansive energy field ready to take on the month ahead. Each month we will have a theme, and it will be based on our mentors, our leaders, our teachers, some of the best change makers in the world, and from our own experiences, what we feel you need to know. And we will be bringing in spirit and everyone above to help us come up with those ones too. But the first one is going to be held on the 19th of June. We will be inviting everyone globally in for this. We've chosen a time that works for a lot of different countries, and all of the information for this is in the show notes. The first one is going to be called Supercharging Your Vibe. So we are going to plug right in and elevate like crazy this time. And it's going to be the springboard for every single session that comes ahead. And because you're listening today, we are going to gift you with a free ticket to this event. We want energetically everyone to show up at that time and that day and be ready to supercharge the crap out of everything. So we would love you to join us. You've got a free ticket. We've got a code. The code is simple. It's yes, please. Capital letters, of course. I mean, you're really serious? And then you just got to show up for 30 minutes. So please head to the show notes. This is our thank you for being along on our journey so far. And this is our chance to give back to you and to hopefully start to attract abundance and miracles and signs and synchronicities and all of the beautiful magic that comes along with a spiritual journey. Anything you want to say, Diane? I'm so excited.
This is always for me where this was going to lead. Both of us are born educators. We're born experiential learners. We love to learn things ourselves, digest it, and then pass it on to other people. And I think what I'm most excited about as well is as these supercharge sessions get off and running, just hearing back from our listeners to say, doing out polls, finding out what people want to learn more about, just having that collective energy together that we're constantly staying plugged in together. And it is 30 minutes. Who can't spare 30 minutes to kind of get supercharged together and know that you're going to walk away with some practices that you can, even if you just do them for that month and then you'd start a whole new practice the next one. Through this, you're going to find some practices that really work for you. And other ones you're going to think, no, that doesn't work for me. But we learn as much from what doesn't work for us as what does work for us. But that intention of having a forum, a platform, a community that you can stay plugged into, that you're constantly getting new ideas. And like Liz and I love trying so many things ourselves. And we've got a whole community of podcast guests and other educators that we're plugged into as well. So yeah, we have so many ideas for these Supercharge sessions, and having that first one as our free one open globally to as many time zones as we can. And just, Let it rock.
Absolutely. If you're talking about really showing the universe that you mean business, like this is your chance. If you're feeling stuck, if you're distracted, if you've got loads of shit going on and you just want to have that connection, just book your spot. It's free, all right? Come along and see how it goes for you. But it's really exciting, and it's been so fun to see the community grow over the last year. And this community to me has been changing my life already. And we would love to invite you all in on this next step with us. We've got some incredible plans, and we will be your cheerleaders, as Diane said, for the next level of the spiritual journey.
Maybe we need to get some pom-poms for that first
yeah, maybe we should. We do cheerleader dress up. Oh, God. So make this your monthly ritual. Let's all supercharge together. Take a look when you get a chance. And definitely, if you haven't already followed us on Instagram so you can be part of the community that little bit more, follow us at spiritual.a.f. And we hope to see you there on the 19th of June. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. And we hope to supercharge with you again very, very soon. Thank you.
That's it for another episode.
Thank you for listening. Did you know that we are building a movement of 1 million people who are spiritual as fuck? We would love for you to join us. You can start by leaving us a review on Apple Podcast. Every month, I'm going to intuitively choose one person and do a psychic reading for you. So
follow us on Instagram, send in your stories and topic suggestions, and join the movement
at spiritual.a.f. Until next time.